ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football overtime. Bucs, Chiefs, thrilling football game. Went to extra frame. And if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a hell of an effort. Now, no moral victories here. You had a chance to steal one on the road in a hostile environment against the two-time Super Bowl defending champs, and you got to go for it. You know, as a fan of a team that was in the exact same situation a year ago and had the exact same fate happen to them. Now, we lost on a field goal, but it doesn't change the fact that you lost the game, right? We won the toss in overtime, and we got jobbed on a call where our receiver got his foot in bounds. They said he didn't, and we ended up having a punt. They went down the field, got a field goal, won the game. You got a chance to beat a team that's better than you. The goal isn't to play more football. The goal is to win now, right? Troy Aikman said it best. First of all, and my guy, Ree, talks about Todd Bowles' lack of game management, strategy, et cetera, et cetera. I think it reared its ugly head tonight because, for one, you didn't need to take that timeout with 30 seconds down at the one. Now, I understand it's helter-skelter. You want to settle everybody down. What you don't want is a mistake in that situation. I understand all of that. What you don't want is everybody rushing to get up there. Somebody doesn't get set correctly. You're in an improper formation, and all of a sudden you got a 5-yard penalty, right? And now it's a 10-second runoff, or you got to use your final timeout. And so I get all of that, right? To eliminate all of that, to settle down, to get your play calls in, all of that good stuff, you call your timeout. The problem is, and it didn't come back to haunt them, the problem is the Chiefs still had 3 timeouts. And if you score, let's say they score on that first play to Cade Otton, there's probably 26 seconds left. And they have all 3 of their timeouts. And all they need is a field goal. Now, it's not the best conditions for kicking a long field goal. Like Aikman was talking about, all they really need to do is get to the 44. I'm like, yeah, with perfect conditions. It's raining out there. It's slick. It's nasty. This isn't this isn't the type of weather to be kicking a 62-yard field goal in. I doubt he makes that. But his point was they're not that far away from field goal range. What you don't want to do is give Mahomes an opportunity to go get them in the field goal range in regulation and try and steal this from you. The play there was to let that clock wind, get up there. You could even run it on first down. You still got your timeout in your back pocket. So you get up there, you run that first play. I would have run it, right? If you don't get it, you ice your timeout, your final timeout, and then obviously you got to throw it from that point forward. Now it's probably like, 12 seconds left, something to that effect. And you go from there, right? You still got all 3 of your shots to the end zone with 12 seconds left. And that's that, right? The good thing was by having your timeout, play action fake still worked. Or by calling that timeout, you still had enough time to run the football. And so your play action fake still worked, which is what ended up scoring you the touchdown. They had to respect play action fake. But you wanted to score a touchdown and go for it with little to no time remaining. Go for 2 in the win. That game had no business going to overtime. Either you were going to lose in regulation because you didn't convert a 2-point conversion, or you're going to win in regulation. But there was no way that game was supposed to be going to OT. And, had you won the toss, you had great momentum on your last possession. Maybe you're able to go down and score again and win this game in overtime. But there's no guarantee. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to the luck of a coin flip, because you had to know if Mahomes got this thing first, and Bake knew. You saw his reaction when he called tails and it ended up being heads, and he went, he knew we just lost the game. The move there was to go for 2. I really don't understand the decision of these coaches who opt in that situation to kick the extra point. And generally what I've found is that the defensive-minded coaches in that particular situation, they decide to go for the extra point. Offensive-minded coaches go for the 2-pointer right there all day, every day. To me, there's nothing to think about. There was no decision to be made there. You had to go for 2 in that situation. Remember week 1, Ravens, Chiefs? We all thought that Isaiah Likely caught that touchdown in the back of the end zone. There was no hesitation. John Harbaugh was going for 2. They were going for the win. There was no way he was going to overtime with Patrick Mahomes. Where's the psychological sense in that? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. If you think going to overtime with the greatest quarterback we've seen in NFL history, yes, I said it, with the way his career is trending right now, he's going to surpass Tom Brady as the best quarterback to ever do this. There's no way I'm going to allow that guy to possess the football again, whether it's in regulation or overtime. There's no way. Either we're winning the game right here or we're losing the game. But either way, it's a valiant effort. Either way, it's a valiant effort. No one's going to kill you for going for 2 in the win in that situation. No one's going to kill you. If you're worried about backlash and criticism, that's why you get paid the big bucks. No one would have even batted an eye if you'd have went for it and didn't get it. They would have said, you know what? I would have done the same thing. Scared money don't make money. And a lot of times in that situation, defensive-minded coaches always opt to kick the extra point because in their mind, oh, my defense is going to get a stop. Bullshit. Bullshit. Your defense isn't getting a stop. Go win the game. Your defense gave you a chance all night long. Go win the game. Instead, you opt for the extra point. Defense gets a stop so that you don't lose in regulation. What would have been even more of a gut punch is if you would have lost in regulation, right? But defense got you a stop. Game went to overtime, and then the Chiefs did what they always do, find a way to win, as they remain undefeated on the season, unbeaten at now 8-0 with the 30-24 victory in overtime. What a game. That was a fun game. Started out really slow. Neither team really could get any traction or footing in this game, pun intended. And then things started to heat up. It's like when it got wet out, both teams became way more efficient, which is weird. And every now and again, Baker Mayfield reminds you of why he was the number 1 overall pick. That final drive that he took them on to tie the game up, masterful. Masterful. Did you see the guys he was throwing a football to? Jarrett. And, I literally thought Sterling Shepard's career was over that last game last year in New York when they were trying desperately to get him a touchdown because they knew he was done in New York. I thought his career was over with. To see him doing the things that he's doing in Tampa Bay, good for him. Good for him. Their top 3 receivers out of this game. He's got Cade Otton and a bunch of no-names running around out there at the receiver position, and he takes them right down the field and ties the ball game up. Man, Bake's a competitor. You can say what you want about Baker Mayfield, man. Bake's one hell of a competitor. And when he gets to shaking and baking, shit can get real ugly for the opponent. He's slippery. He's crafty. He's ballsy. Yeah, he's going to make a mistake or two. He should have thrown a pick early in the game. Reed had a beat on one, and he just couldn't pull it in. But I love me some Baker Mayfield, man. Big fan of his. And he competed his ass off tonight. Unfortunately, I don't think his coach did him a great service by not allowing them to go for 2 in that situation and try to win the game. But let's start with the Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl defending champs who remain unbeaten on the season at 8-0 with this win, and talk about how they got to 8-0 on the season. Let's talk about the scare first. My God, I think, look, no one wants to see the Chiefs win 3 in a row. I think, unless you're a Chiefs fan, I think most people don't want to see the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. I think I can speak for most people out there when I say nobody wants to see the Chiefs win a 3rd Super Bowl. Okay. But nobody wants to see their reign end like that. I also feel comfortable saying that as well. No one wants to see Patrick Mahomes get hurt and that be the reason they don't win a 3rd Super Bowl. Like, you want to see somebody beat the Chiefs in the postseason with Mahomes healthy so that there are no excuses. Oh, we didn't win the 3rd Super Bowl because this happened. No, you just got beat, right? I was on pins and needles when he got hurt because, the first thing, I wasn't even paying attention, right? Like, I was looking at my phone. I told you I go sometimes down the rabbit hole. I was looking at a short. Somebody sent me a clip or something. I watched that clip. Then the next clip came, and all of a sudden, boom, I got. I'm in the rabbit hole. I'm down that black hole, and I couldn't get out. So I'm looking at all these different shorts, and I see him throw the touchdown pass to Samaje Perine, right? I'm watching everything, but I look down at my phone, I look back up, and Mahomes down, writhing in pain, and I'm like, oh, there must be a flag. Somebody must have hit him. Show me the replay. Who had the audacity to hit 15 after he flicked the football? This is definitely going to be 15-yard penalty. And I see no flag on the field. I'm like, where's the laundry? No laundry. And then I hear he wasn't touched. I'm like, that's odd. Mahomes injured, not touched. Okay, what's going on here? Show me something. They show the replay, and I see Mahomes step awkwardly and start hobbling, jumping. I'm like, oh, shit, don't tell me that this is an Achilles. Please don't. For the love of God, don't tell me that this is an Achilles. Like that, I just, no, don't. Nope, not trying to hear it. I see him grabbing at his ankle, which makes me think it's an Achilles. Then they show the replay, they show the awkward step, and then they tell me that he had an injury to his ankle last week against the Raiders, and I go, okay, I think this is an ankle injury, and he's going to be fine. And if you watch Quarterback, the Netflix series, then he's dealt with some ankle injuries in the past. He's a warrior. He'll do whatever it takes to get back out on the field. And so if it's an ankle, he'll be fine. But I couldn't be sure of that. And when I watched this man not be able to put any weight on it, I'm like, this doesn't feel like an ankle. Okay. They get him to the sideline. They get him in the blue tent. Everybody's freaking out over the commercial break. They come back from commercial break, and Troy Aikman's like, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be back in this game pretty soon. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about, Troy? Then they shoot over the Patrick on the sideline, and this bastard's running up and down the sideline like, you mother effer. You had everybody over here holding their bated breath. Everybody's on social media panicking, and you're fine. Right? Like, somebody was like, he's a drama queen. I'm like, nah. Dudes freak out when they think something's really wrong, right? Like, if I hurt my ankle and it hurts really bad, I don't want to put any weight on it because I don't know how bad of an injury it is. And so you see guys do that, right? How many times have we seen guys, you can't put weight on something, or, their arm is dangling, they pop it back into place, and the guy's back on the field like 5 plays later. You're like, whoa, didn't think I'd see him the rest of this game. It happens, right? But for a minute there, we were all like, oh, shit, what is going on, right? Good that he was healthy. I'm glad that he's okay, because nobody wants to see that. Not to the best player in the league. So, You get past that. And I've talked about this with specific teams this year, Kansas City being one, Buffalo being another, in particular. You could tell that there were certain teams that had Super Bowl aspirations that had to do something before the deadline at receiver if they had any aspirations of hoisting the Lombardi in February. I said Kansas City can't go on with what they have because, as you know, Xavier Worthy isn't worthy of being a number one receiver. He's not ready. And I don't think there's a play that's more telling of that than the one at the very beginning where he doesn't even know where he is on the field. He's so worried about taking a shot that he's backpedaling away from the hit that he steps out of bounds and doesn't complete. That should have been a touchdown. He's so concerned about getting hit because he's 102 pounds that he backpedals his way out of bounds instead of catching the football and being ready to take whatever hit may come for catching the football. You know, he was so concerned about not getting hit that he moonwalked his way out of bounds without even getting a foot down, not 2 feet. He didn't get a single foot inbounds. Okay. He's not ready to be a number one receiver. We know Mecole Hardman's not capable of doing that. We know Justin Watson's not capable of doing that, right? Can't trust any of the other receivers, Sky Moore, any of those other guys, right? Can't trust any of those dudes. So they had to do something. And they go out and get DeAndre Hopkins, and that was just what the doctor ordered. It's exactly what they needed. He's as reliable as it gets. He will be what Juju Smith-Schuster's, but obviously 10 times better the year they beat the Eagles in 2022. He'll be what Juju Smith-Schuster was to that offense. This reliable guy that I can go to in critical situations, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 3. If I need to throw it, I know I can throw it to Hop. And he's going to catch the football, and he's going to make it happen for me. Saw the 2 touchdowns tonight, critical situations, got to have it. Who does he go to? Oh, these were both 3rd downs, by the way, right? In the red zone. Both of those touchdowns were to DeAndre Hopkins. So he was huge tonight, and he's only going to get better. Like that play in regulation where they're not on the same page. Give him a month, right? Come back and check with these two in a month. They'll be on the same page, and now you're going to be in trouble, right? The worst thing that happened is allowing them to get, and remember, there's still a chance, although I don't see it happening, but there's still a chance that Hollywood Brown could come back in time for, the playoffs, or more specifically, we heard like if they make it to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, he might be able to come back and play. Now, how much of a factor can he possibly be if he hasn't played all season long? But just know that with DeAndre Hopkins, you see what that has done for Travis Kelce. In the 2 games that DeAndre Hopkins has been entered into the mix, Travis Kelce all of a sudden has come to life. Didn't have a touchdown catch all season long. Hop shows up. He's got his first touchdown, and he had his best game of the season against the Raiders last week, did Travis Kelce. That's not a coincidence, right? Then tonight, second game of DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup. He has his career high, 13 catches. Now, not a ton of yards, right? I think 92 yards, something like that. But still, 13 catches. He's back to being that reliable target for Patrick Mahomes because now there's pressure off of Kelce. There's another guy you have to worry about. And you still got to worry about Xavier Worthy. Like, you can't forget about him. He's too damn fast. So he can still get behind you. He can still make plays. So when it's all said and done, they're going to be dangerous on offense. And eventually, they'll get Isaiah Pacheco back. So the run game will then come to life again. And they keep finding ways to win. And tonight was another example of that. And they're only going to get better. Wasn't one of their best nights defensively. Chris Jones was a non-factor tonight. Got to credit the Bucs for that. They moved the ball very efficiently. Again, without their top 3 receivers, you're not accustomed to seeing teams have that kind of success against Kansas City's defense. But guess what? They're not going to have their fastball every night. They're not going to have their fastball every night. defensively. And that means somebody else is going to have to step up. And tonight, it was the offense that had to bail the defense out, like old times, right? They had a chance to end this game in regulation with a defensive stop, and they couldn't do it. So the offense had to step in and regulate. But they're not going undefeated. You know, this is another one of those games that's an example of they're not going undefeated. Somebody's going to get them. And normally in the regular season, it's Buffalo. And they have Buffalo, I think, in a couple of weeks from now. They got Buffalo, I think, in week 11. I could see the Bills taking them down in that ball game. But whatever the case may be, you see the makings of how this team can go and three-peat with DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup and what he provides for Mahomes. You know, another security blanket that he can get the football to. They're still old faithful with Travis Kelce. There's still, you know, Watson, who he trusts a ton. There's still those guys. But now with a true number one receiver, everyone else is properly slotted. Now, Worthy can go back to being a gadget guy and a guy that can take the top off the defense. Kelce can go back to work in the middle of the football field without having all of this attention around him because there's a receiver that they got to pay attention to now and Hopkins, and all is right with the world, right? And eventually, like I said, you'll get back Isaiah Pacheco. And that will give a boost to your run game and give that some explosion and pop. And this defense is still good, despite, you know, not looking their best tonight. So it was a really, really fun game to watch. Kind of cat and mouse late. The Chiefs made enough plays, you would think, to win that game in regulation. And then I didn't see that Baker Mayfield drive coming late. I'm not even going to front. Didn't see it coming. Caught me by surprise. I kept waiting for, you know, the mistake, right? You know, because Bake's throwing BBs out there and it's pouring outside. And you're like, one of these is going to tip off somebody's hands right in the hands of a waiting defender, and this thing's going to end 24-17. I just kept waiting for that to happen. It never did. He just kept taking them down the field and eventually got into the end zone. And you go, wow, what a drive. And let's transition over to Tampa, man. They're now 4-5 on the season with this loss. This is a gut punch because you came into this game, nobody gave you a shot. Down your top three receivers. How are you going to put up points? Last week was Atlanta. It was family business. It was an aberration. You're not doing that to one of the best defenses in the league on a Monday night on the road at Arrowhead. There's no way you're going in there and you're scoring enough points to even have a remote chance of winning this game. This is going to look a lot like the Saints game on Monday night about 3-4 weeks back, where the Chiefs didn't do much offensively, didn't have to because their defense suffocated the Saints offense and won that game pretty comfortably. It was like, you know, a low-scoring game, like 26-13 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Suffocate this Bucs offense, you know, limit them to like 16, 17 points, which is what they were at. They scored 27 or so. You know, they win this game by a couple scores. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy, but it's what they do. And early on, the Bucs kind of set the tone. Like, they came out and they said, hey, I don't know what you think this is going to be, but we here for the long haul. You know, kicked the field goal early, had a chance to get a touchdown, but they settled for a field goal. Then the Chiefs got the touchdown, and they went down and they responded with a touchdown, right? Took the lead back 10-7. Chiefs had the football with a chance. They forced a fumble to Kelce before half, so they were able to secure that lead. And so you're looking at Tampa Bay and you're saying, okay, all right. Maybe it might have been the other way around. I think it might have been 10-7 Kansas City. But you're like, okay, all right. Bucs aren't going away. And as that game, and I think it was 10-7 Bucs. Let me check and see. It was 10-7 Bucs. No, I had it right. It was 10-7 Kansas City. And Cade Otton was fantastic tonight. How much did he have? Did he go over 100? It felt like he was creeping up. I don't think he went over 100 because Bake didn't have that many yards passing. He only had 200 yards passing. He had 77 yards on 8 catches. He had 11 targets. But he was definitely the focal point of the offense, and they really didn't have an answer for him. He had a couple of big conversions. You know, there was a 3rd and 12 where he was able to turn the corner, get up the field, and get the first down on one possession. And I think he might have even capped that possession off with a touchdown grab. He had the nice little, fake screen up the sideline, and Bake hit him for the touchdown. And, Otten was a real problem tonight. They really didn't have any answers for him. And, as the game wore on, you can see Tampa settling in. Like, they're not going to go away. I still didn't think they were going to be able to make the winning plays to give themselves a chance late, but I could see that they were going to make this a closer ball game than many people, including myself, expected them to be able to. So, when they got that football down 7, late, I wasn't expecting them to drive it the length of the field and score. It wasn't until I think Shepard caught that second one, not the one where he, it got challenged and they looked at it again. The second one he caught on the opposite sideline where you go, okay, that's a really good catch. And I really think they got Kansas City guessing. They're kind of off balance, right? And then he hits Otten for another one, and then he hits what's the speedster? What's the speed receiver from Rutgers? Shucks. Palmer. He hits Palmer down to the 1, and you're like, they're scoring a touchdown. And now the question is, are they going for 2? And when he called the timeout, I said, there's no way they're going for 2. There's no way, because if you're going for 2, you want to have it to where you score, they can't respond. If you're going to kick the extra point, then you want to make sure that you got as much time as you need to execute. So when they called that timeout, I said, okay, they're gonna kick the extra point. In my mind, I'm thinking, you scored this touchdown, you gotta go for the win, man. But if you were going to, because Kansas City's gonna play it conservative, like they're gonna try to go for it, but if the game's tied, they're not gonna, like, for instance, it was 4th and 1 there, right? If they're down 1 because Tampa Bay went for 2 and got it, they're going for that 4th down, and they're probably going to get it, right? Because they still had timeouts. They still had 2 timeouts. So they would have gone for that. They would have gotten it, and they would have been able to, they would have pushed the envelope, right? Because it's tied, you're not going to push the envelope because you can just go to overtime and still have a chance to win. So once Tampa Bay called that timeout, I knew what the thought process was already. They're trying to go to overtime. And soon as Bake threw the touchdown pass, he immediately ran off the field. I said, there was no hesitation. They had already discussed, if we score this touchdown, we're kicking the extra point, which I vehemently disagreed with. But the decision was made. McLaughlin comes on, nails the extra point. The defense holds. This game goes to overtime, and we know what else. We know what happens. It was a tired Bucs defense. And again, you were asking them to stop Patrick Mahomes. They had just done it at the end of regulation. They had just done it when the game was 24-17, and they had to get the stop to give the Bucs a shot, and they got it done there. You were asking them to do it again. And the third time was strike 3. Like, you got away with the first time, got away with the second time. You couldn't come back and ask them to do it a third time. And even though they had played quality defense for much of the night, you had to know now the game's on the line. Now you're going to get the best of Mahomes. And of course, that's what you got, with a sprinkle of Kareem Hunt in the run game. But it was really Mahomes just doing what he does, finding a way. And so, hell of an effort, as I mentioned, by the Bucs. Short-staffed. Nobody really gave him a shot tonight. I really think for the second year in a row, they nailed it with their coordinator. Canales was excellent last year. And damn, I forgot my man's name already from the Rams and Kentucky, but he's killing it, man. I think it was, what is it, Cohen? I think his name is. I like him. I like how they're utilizing the pieces that they have. Bucky Irving continues to be really good at a nice kick return tonight. Set him up to start the second half. He was dynamic. And that's something else I want to say. The Chiefs didn't tackle well tonight. I'm not used to seeing the Chiefs miss as many tackles as they missed tonight. They weren't their sharp, usual selves on defense. And maybe the weather had something to do with that. But I also got to give credit to the Buccaneers. They played hard, they played physical, and they got some guys that can make you miss. Whether it's Irvin or it's White, Rashad White, they got some guys that can make you look silly. And they missed quite a bit of tackles tonight. But again, credit the Buccaneers for a lot of that as well. There was that one penalty on Tristan Wirfs. Was it a face mask? I don't know. It looked like it was jersey, not face mask, but his head turned. So maybe he had jersey and face mask. But even if it wasn't face mask, it still was a holding penalty. It was one or the other. One is 5 and the other is 15. So there is a 5-yard difference. You still made the field goal. So maybe you convert if it's not 1st and 25. Maybe you ultimately convert, with 3 downs to get 20 yards instead of 25. But either way, that killed that drive. And you were moving the football there. But in any event, valiant effort by the Bucs, but you got to try to win the game there. It's really simple. You got to try to win the game. And Todd Bowles elected to play it safe, and scared money don't make money. You don't beat the 2-time Super Bowl defending champions in their building by playing it safe. The Lions went in there and beat them last year in week 1 by trying fake punts on the first possession of the game to let them know, and we're not here to tie. We're not here to play you close and walk away with a loss, but a moral victory. No, we coming in here to win. And that's a mindset. That's an attitude. And Todd Bowles obviously didn't have that mindset and that attitude. Anyway, we'll go ahead. We'll go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS. And then when we get off of that, we'll come back on the other side and we'll get to your comments to talk about this excellent game that we watched tonight. It went to overtime. 30-24 victory for the Kansas City Chiefs as they remain unbeaten on the season at 8-0. Bucs fall below 500 at 4-5. Let's go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS.
Inside the odds.
Looking for a new book this football season and really just this season in general. My Duke Blue Devils kicked off their season against Maine tonight. Got my first look at Cooper Flagg in an actual game, not an exhibition. So college basketball is kicked off. Obviously, you got the NBA in full swing, NFL, college football, hockey, NHL. You name it, it's going on right now. And BetUS has you covered. Fastest payouts in the industry. Get up to 10% back on your net losses twice a year as long as you're active for a 6-month period. And then here's the kicker. For new users, 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit of up to $2,000 and 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube 150. So, as you can see, nobody gave Tampa Bay a chance in this game. You see the odds. They were the biggest underdogs of week number 9. 9-point dogs were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not going to sit here in front and act like I thought they were going to be in this game because I didn't. I told you I thought they were going to lose this game by 2 scores, somewhere in that 9 range, right? I said, 26-17, 27-17, 27-16, something along those lines, 24-13. Didn't expect them to score a bunch. Didn't expect the Chiefs to score a whole lot. But I expected them to lose this game by roughly 2 scores. That's what Vegas had, right? That's what BetUS had. Them is 9-point dogs, right? Over under on the game, 45.5. Obviously, they hit the over. I mean, they had the over in regulation. Once Tampa Bay scored their touchdown, I think I had the two teams combining to score, I think, 46 points, if I'm not mistaken. I thought the game would be something like 27-17, something in that neighborhood. I don't remember what the exact score I was thinking, but I had 46, so it must have been something like 26-20. But it's hard to get 46 a whole bunch of ways, but I thought it would be a 2-score game. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I have 46. But they hit the over, right? They hit the over on that. So the spread tells you what everybody thought about Tampa Bay's chances tonight. And this is a funny league we watch every week. It's a funny league. So let's look at a couple of things for these two teams in particular, because kind of feels like the Chiefs are going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. Kind of feels like all roads in the AFC lead to Kansas City. And if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you got to go through Arrowhead. That's what it kind of feels like right now. Obviously, with them being undefeated, no other team in the conference in the AFC has 1 loss, right? Everybody else has at least 2 losses. And it feels like the biggest threat to them might be Baltimore. And they just wet the bed against Cleveland a couple weeks back. So instead of them being at 6-2 right now, 7-2, whatever, if they haven't had their bye week, they're now 6-3, right? I believe Baltimore hasn't had their bye yet, and so Buffalo is sitting there. I think it's 7-2. I don't think Buffalo's had their bye yet either, and that might be the biggest threat to them in the conference, but we'll see, right? So the number 1 seed in the AFC, Chiefs obviously are overwhelming favorite right now, as they should be, at -350. No one else is a minus. Everybody else is in the pluses. Buffalo +500. I would say the Bills are probably the biggest threat at this point. And they play the Chiefs in a couple of weeks, so that'll go a long way in kind of helping determine that. Baltimore, I would say, is the next biggest threat, but that loss to their odds probably took a massive hit when they lost that game to the Browns a couple of weeks ago. So you can see +1400. They're kind of way off the road a bit. I mean, again, they're 3 games back of or 2.5 games back, because Kansas City's had their bye already, and Baltimore, I don't think, has had their bye. So nobody else is really close. It feels like it's either going to be Buffalo or Kansas City for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Meanwhile, in the NFC, it kind of feels like Tampa Bay is relegated now to wild card conversations only, right? This loss, look, this was a baked-in loss. Nobody expected them to win this game. Once Godwin and Evans went down in that loss to Baltimore a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football, we kind of expected them to kind of tailspin a bit. And if they could just find a way to sneak a game, and this was maybe the one they tried, would have a chance to sneak. It sounds like the 49ers coming off their bye may have Christian McCaffrey in tow, which is not a good thing for Tampa Bay if he is in fact back and making his season debut. But, after that 49ers game, things get a lot, lighter for the Bucs. They play in a bad division. They haven't used up, I don't think, either of their Carolinas yet. I think they still have a New Orleans left, because they went to New Orleans, already beat them. So they still got a New Orleans left. So obviously they got a Giants left on the schedule. They got a lot of winnable games left on their schedule. I think Dallas is on their schedule still. So things are definitely going to lighten up for them. I don't think they've played Dallas yet. So things are definitely going to lighten up for them as the season wears on, obviously, and you'll get Mike Evans back at some point from IR, and you like to think that this team will have a chance to make a run at it, but it doesn't feel like they're going to be making a run at an NFC South crown. It feels like they'll be making a run at an NFC wild card spot. So let's see where they are in the wild card standings in terms of odds in the NFC. And right now, the Bucs are plus 350. Let's see. The Packers are the biggest favorite at minus 165. Then the Vikings at minus 175. And that's because they expect Detroit to win that division, as do most of us. Then you have teams that you think might win the division. Eagles are at plus 175. Vegas still thinks that the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. Obviously, the Lions are at plus 250. But after you get past the teams that kind of are, hovering around their division lead, and the Commanders are at plus 125 because again they could win their division. So once you get past all of that, you look at the Bucs, and they're plus 350. And Vegas is essentially telling you they feel really good about Tampa Bay having a shot at trying to make the postseason. I mean, you look at the rest of this conference. Carolina's not going anywhere. The Giants aren't going anywhere. The Saints aren't going anywhere. That NFC West is really intriguing because right now, who would have thought 9 weeks in that the Arizona Cardinals would be leading that division at 5-4? But here we are. Arizona Cardinals leading that division at 5-4. The Saints or the Seahawks have spiraled here of late. I think they've lost 3 in a row now. Have the Seahawks, if not 3 in a row, 3 out of 4. But they're spiraling out of control. The Rams have now won 2 straight. They're back to 500 at 4-4 after we left them for dead not too long ago. San Francisco's been up and down. They're coming off their bye. They're 4-4. Everybody in that division's 4-4 except for Arizona, who's 5-4. So, and I think Seattle is now 4-5. Matter of fact, they were 4-4 and atop the division, and then they lose to the Rams. So it doesn't feel like we're getting more than one team out of that division for a wild card. Like it feels like one team's winning that division and that's it. I think you're definitely getting 2 out of the NFC East. You're definitely getting at least 2 out of the NFC North. You could possibly get a third out of that division, right? And if that happens, then you're only getting 1 out of each of the, West and the South, right? So if you're Tampa, you're going to have to come off the pace because the NFC North is loaded. Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit all look like playoff teams. Washington and in Philadelphia both look like playoff teams. And Atlanta looks like the lone playoff team in the NFC South. And who knows who's coming out of the West right now. My money's still on San Francisco, but maybe they don't get their shit together this year. Maybe it's just one of those years where they're too banged up and they just can't get it together. And somebody else comes out of that division. But Tampa's got an uphill battle to climb. But Vegas still believes that they're in the mix. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. Big shout out to BetUS for those odds. See what you guys have to say. Now, let me go ahead and let you guys know. We got a little bit of time on our hands. So if you're out there, you want your comment read, best way to have that happen are super chats. That will allow you to go straight to the front of the line. And also, it will allow you to have your comment shown on the screen and responded and reacted to. And it will ensure that happens. Now, if time permits, we get through all of the super chats. We'll get to the comment section. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent and time permits. Again, I can't promise you that time will permit. So again, if you want to ensure that your comment is read, super chats are the way to do it. All right, so we kick off the night with my guy, Ree. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, I said it before, I'll say it again. Todd Bowles is a bitch. Dude has lady parts. You'd think a guy from the Bruce Arians coaching tree would have some semblance of a spine. Conservative bullshit. And I used you as my rallying cry this at the beginning of this stream. I used you as my rallying cry. I said my guy Reed told me that Todd Bowles was terrible with game management, and I heard your voice in my head. I told you I make up voices for everyone and how you look. So I heard your voice in my head telling me that Todd Bowles was going to kick the extra point when I was watching the game. I said, if according to Reed, if my calculations are correct, Todd Bowles is definitely kicking the extra point here. No hesitation. And as soon as Baker threw the touchdown pass, Baker sprinted to the sideline. So there was never any doubt. There was never a look to the sideline like, hey, we going for two. They had already discussed, we scored this touchdown, we're kicking the extra point. So, and that wasn't the way to go. That was not the way to go about it. It's wet. It's nasty. You got them on the ropes. I've been here as a fan. I've been there before. Last year on the road at Philadelphia, they went to the Super Bowl the season before, right? So they're the big man on campus. You're trying to dethrone Philadelphia. You want to make a statement. Here's an opportunity to do it. You're in Philadelphia early in the season. You got these guys on the ropes. You're going toe-to-toe with them. And you throw a touchdown pass with no time remaining on the clock in the fourth quarter. And here's your opportunity to win the game by going for two. And Ron Rivera bitched up and kicked the extra point, and we lost the game in overtime. It's the same thing. And they're cut from the same cloth. They come from the same generation of, football players, former football players, both played in the 80s into the early 90s. Both guys have that same mindset of, kind of conservative, and, let my defense handle it, that sort of thing. And you could see it play itself out, right? Sucks because you guys played well enough to win that football game. And I think they should have at least been given the opportunity to do so in regulation. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Swaggy P, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, every time I see A.J. Brown on the Eagles, Derrick Henry on the Ravens, and D-Hop on the Chiefs, I'm starting to think teams have blackmail on the Titans. The rich get richer. Henry was a free agent, though. Collusion, I tell you. I mean, it just goes to show you that it was malpractice on the part of the Tennessee Titans, right? They had A.J. Brown, this budding star wide receiver. You had Derrick Henry. You went all the way to the AFC Championship with those two guys, right? And I want to say that was A.J. Brown's rookie season, and you went all the way to the AFC Championship game, and you somehow bungled that. You didn't. You drafted a really bad receiver in Treylon Burks, which was a mistake. And you never really added the pieces that needed to be added to give you a real shot to get back to the AFC Championship again. And it just went sideways. I mean, first of all, look, I'm not a Tennessee Titans fan, so I can't say that, Mike Vrabel didn't need to be fired. But Mike Vrabel was a hell of a coach. I mean, who are we kidding? No, he didn't always make the right decisions, and he did have a certain style of ball, but he never wanted to get rid of A.J. Brown. That was their GM. And then there was a power struggle, and then, Vrabel won, and then next thing you know, Vrabel's getting fired, right? So it's amazing to see just how bad the Titans are now. And how far they've fallen, and I don't know when they're going to get back up. You know, I don't know when they're going to get back up. Clearly, they need a quarterback, but a lot of talent passed through Tennessee. You know, a lot of offensive linemen, number of skill guys, a lot of talent passed through the Titans. I'll just say that much. Brian N., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, why panic? Patrick did the same in the Super Bowl versus Philly. Theatrics. Seen this before. But you can't say he did the same thing in the Super Bowl against Philly. He was literally dealing with a ridiculous high ankle sprain that Super Bowl against the Eagles. We watched him leave a game in the playoffs and not return, right? He did not return against Jacksonville in that game. Who finished that game for them? I don't recall who finished that game. Was Chad, blame it on the Henne, still there? Because we know Chad Henne had the big play against the Browns the year prior. But in 2022, I'm trying to think, did somebody else had to come in, or did Patrick finish that game? But he had a nasty ankle sprain against Jacksonville. We watched it happen, right? And so he wasn't right. The whole playoff run, he was not right. And the fact that he was able to play in the Super Bowl, because I think he might have re-aggravated it in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati. And he was able to, we watched it on quarterback. Like we saw how swollen his ankle was. We saw the coloration, right? And all of the treatment that he had to go through to get on the field. Like, it wasn't theatrics. This isn't LeBron James going for a layup and acting like he just got shot because he got fouled. Checking for blood every time he gets hit in the head. This ain't that. This ain't soccer. Where a guy, like, this is a real contact sport we talking about here. This ain't soccer. This ain't the NBA. These are tough guys. They don't fake injuries. And NFL players, that's other sports. This is real contact. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Bowles says the issues with the defense have mostly been communication issues. Boy, I've heard that so many times before. We've had the same defensive scheme with largely the same personnel for the past 6 years. Communication issues? Now, I will say in his defense, there are a number of new guys in the secondary, right? For years, you had Carlton Davis back there, and, you had a lot of the same parts. What's my man's name from Auburn? He's hurt right now, I believe, right? So you got all these young guys out there. You had a guy tonight who made his first start, who ended up leaving the game. I don't know if he had like a hamstring or he had a cramp or something, but he was out there. Tyke Smith is a rookie. He's playing a lot of snaps for you. It's a lot of new blood back there, man. It's not the same group. And normally when you have communication issues, we talking about the back end. We ain't talking about the front seven. We're talking about the back end. That's where the real communication has to take place. Because you make one mistake back there and somebody's wide open. So it's a lot of changes, a lot of moving parts on the back end of that defense. It's a lot of moving parts. Communication is a real thing on the back end. I hate hearing about communication as the issue. If it keeps happening, like, fix it. I don't want to keep hearing about communication issues. Fix it. Good coaching fixes communication issues. Because I've heard that excuse, and I've seen my defenses of teams that I've rooted for get gashed, and you keep telling me it's communication every week, and yet every week we getting our ass handed to us in a brown paper bag. Then I have coaches this year who are competent and really good at their job say, hey, we got communication issues. We can clean this shit up. And then the issues go away. That's what it's supposed to look like. Reed, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Reed writes, Baker played like a man, did what he had to do. Todd Bowles plays prevent defense the whole game. I've never seen a defense allow so many guys to run wide open in one season. 10 yards off every play. Boy, you sound like a lot of us watching some of these, performances when you got a defensive coordinator. Now, when you see teams doing that, a lot of times they're scared. They don't trust the personnel that they have out on the field. And when you don't trust guys, like Bowles wants to be aggressive. That's his nature. You can't be aggressive if you don't trust the corners you have out there on an island. You can't, he trusts whether it's the right thing to do or not. He trusts Jamel Dean. I think he's hurt, though. I haven't seen Jamel Dean in like 2-3 weeks, right? He trusted Carlton Davis, whether that was the right thing to do or not, right? He trusted, what was the corner name? He's got 3 names, 2 last names that was there when y'all won the Super Bowl. And I think he picked off Taylor Heineke in the playoff game. Can't remember his name. I think he had went to Tennessee. I don't know where he is now. But he trusted those dudes. He felt good about playing man coverage, and blitzing and being aggressive. Now you got a bunch of funny lookings out there. Now the trust isn't there anymore. So now you got to play off because you don't trust them. And it sucks when you're in that position. It really, truly does suck when you're playing like that. Baker was outstanding tonight. He gutted it, man. He really did. He really did. Reed, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Reed writes, opposing offenses don't even have to game plan because they'll have guys running wide open on every play. And that's that communication stuff, right? That's what he's talking about. Here's one of your biggest problems, though, Reed. You talk about the lack of communication, this, that, and the third. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, man. That's the biggest issue. It ain't like we can sit here and talk about guys running open, corners playing off, lack of communication, whatever the case. If you ain't getting pressure, I don't give a damn how good your secondary is. They can only cover for so long, right? You got to get some pressure on the quarterback. Now, I actually thought the pressure wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible tonight. Vita Vea had a couple of sacks. Yaya Diaby, made some plays. He was back in the backfield a couple of times. Shoya, Justin Tryon Shoyinka had a pressure or two. He's been a massive disappointment, obviously being a former first-round pick. Kalijah Kancey had a sack on Mahomes on a play. So I actually thought the pressure wasn't too bad tonight, but that's not what you've been this season. Y'all don't get consistent pressure on the quarterback, right? So that's one of your biggest issues too, is you don't get consistent pressure on the quarterback. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel, thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Pat saw Wentz warming up and said, hell no. It was funny. They came back from break. And, Wentz is, take his ball cap off. He's going to get a ball. He's ready to start warming up. And they go to commercial break. They come back from the commercial break. Pat is jogging up and down the sidelines. And then, Wentz is like, yo, do I even need to warm up? He goes over to Pat. You good? And Pat's like, yeah, I'm good, man. Get the hell out of here. Your ass ain't getting in the game. I'm straight. That's a crazy feeling as a backup because you don't know what the hell's going on. You see him go down. He needs help. He can't put any weight on it. So you think, hey, shit, I'm probably going to have to go in the game. Now, they did just score a touchdown, right? So, depending on how quick the defense is able to get a stop or whatever, you're going to see if you go in. But You know the competitor that Patrick Mahomes is. He's not trying to allow somebody to come in the game. And so with the quickness, he pretty much told, hey, you good. Go ahead and put your ball cap back on, bro. You ain't going in. That was crazy. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, I don't give a shit about injuries. That's the NFL. Everyone has injuries. Go out there and find a way. Easier said than done. There was a reason that you were 9-point dogs in this going into this game because of your injuries. You're not a 9-point underdog if you're healthy, relatively healthy. Excuse me. Nobody's healthy this time of the year. Health is a relative term. Once you get past week 1, there's no such thing as being healthy. Once you get past the first game of the season, everybody's dealing with something. Some teams more than others, right? You are one of those more than others teams right now. And you got to find a way. And to your credit, you almost did tonight. And you were literally potentially a 2-point conversion away from doing the unthinkable. That would have been probably the biggest upset of the season. I think maybe the Ravens losing to the Browns, but that's family business, though. Like, even though we didn't think the Browns would be able to beat the Ravens, that's family business. The Bucs beating the Chiefs, that ain't family business. That shit ain't supposed to happen, right? That might have gone down as the biggest upset of the year, right? But unfortunately, didn't happen. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Cade Otton is Cam Brate 2.0. I think Cade Otton is better than him, personally. I know Brate was your guy. You would always say, make America Brate again. That was your guy. But I think Cade Otton might be better than Cam Brate. And Brate was really good. Otton, it's something about dudes that don't wear gloves. I'm like, yo, you a G. You a G if you don't wear gloves. And Otton be snatching that bitch out the air, getting yard. I think he's a better athlete than Cam Brate was. I think Otton is a better athlete than he was. Rafael Del Luna, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, who wins a Lions versus Chiefs Super Bowl? I mean, that would be fun to watch. That's kind of where it feels like we're heading. If you just look at the two best teams in each conference, I don't think anybody's debating you right now. It's the Lions in the NFC and it's the Chiefs in the AFC. We've seen the game play out last year, but there was no Travis Kelce or Chris Jones, and the Lions won 20-19. So the Lions are a different team than they were last year, week 1, and the Chiefs are clearly a different team. And they're still putting some of the pieces together of their puzzle. It'd be a fascinating game. Right now, the Lions feel like the more complete team. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and 2 Super Bowl wins and Andy Reid, and they're still dangerous. So who knows how that would go. I'd still bet on the Chiefs, but I wouldn't count out the Lions, man. That'd be a fun one, but we'll see what happens. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, Pittsburgh, let's get it, Lou. We'll talk Pittsburgh on Wednesday. I'm still enjoying the sweep of the Giants. It was funny, though. This lady was at the game, the Wizards game tonight, because Jaden and Bobby Wagner were there. They big basketball fans, and the Warriors were in town. So they went to the game probably to see Steph and company. But she's yelling, "Go Steelers!" And Jada looks back at her and says, "Nah." And then she says it again, "Go Steelers!" And Bobby Wagner turns and looks at her as he's walking away. He goes, "Shh." So and she was at this Wizards game in full Steelers garb, right? Like, she ready. We still, 6 days away from the game, and she already dressed in all Steelers, garb. You already know what it is come Sunday. They infiltrating the building. We just gotta put them down nice and easy and not give those fans anything to cheer about, right? But should be interesting. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Wentz, top 5, dead or alive? Wentz, top 5, dead or alive? Carson Wentz. Hey, how about that? Anyway, I digress. Let's see what we got. Samuel S says Todd Bowles is a pussy for not going for going for one, essentially. Look, that's what coaches get paid to do, make those tough decisions. I thought this was a pretty easy decision to make. To me, I don't think it's as cut and dry like Ron Rivera when he first got to Washington. He tried to make it simple. When you're at home, you go for the extra point. When you're on the road, you go for 2 in the win, right? I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think you got to go by feel, by opponent, how the game is going. I think there's instances where you're on the road and you got all the momentum and maybe you're the better team and you don't need to go for 2. Like you feel like if this goes to, overtime, we got all the momentum. We're going to win this game. Like, to me, if you're the better team, you could look at it one of 2 ways. You could say, no, we're the better team. Let's go to overtime. You're not better than us. We'll prevail, right? Normally, more time in a game favors the better team, not less. Or you could say, we're the better team, and we're going to prove it by going for 2 right now in the win. We trust our 2-point play. We trust our offense to execute, and we know we're going to win this game right now. You can look at it one of 2 ways if you're the better team. If you're the lesser of the 2 teams, I don't think there's really anything to discuss. Let's go win this bitch now. Okay? We're not even supposed to be in this position to win. Let's go try and win this bitch right now. I think that should have been the thought process. Obviously, it wasn't, and it backfired, right? Metaphor writes, Bowles is a Rivera bitch. Y'all got to stop talking about Todd. Todd's my guy. Y'all got to stop talking about Todd like that, man. Should have gone for 2. I agree. He should have gone for 2. I lone wolfed it picking Tampa this week and could have got it if not for this scared little boy. That would have been a huge win. That would have been a huge win because you might have been the only person who picked Kansas City or Tampa Bay. Like, no, until Kansas City loses or plays Buffalo, you're not going to see many people go against Kansas City. It's a death wish. You're asking for it, a free loss if you're going against the Chiefs right now. I think you'll really see people go against them when they play Buffalo. Still don't know if that's a smart decision or not. Buffalo hasn't been the sharpest this season. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, bottom line is we won't be any better than 8-9, 9-18 with Bowles. He's a fantastic DC, mediocre head coach. I don't think I disagree with that. I think some guys are meant to be coordinators. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some guys are meant to be coordinators. Bowles may be one of those type of guys that's meant to be a coordinator. We'll see, how the rest of this season shakes out. It's just unfortunate that the injuries happen because the way you guys started and the way that this thing was going, who knows what could have happened in some of these games that you're losing. You probably could have beaten Atlanta the second time, right? Probably could have won this game. Who knows? It's hard to say what would have happened, what wouldn't have happened. But, 8-9 won't get you a playoff spot. 9-8 probably won't get you one either, but you never know. You never know. Atlas writes, nothing but frustration yet again. The only consolation is that the schedule finally starts to let up after this one. I guess you call the 49ers game letting up? If that's the case, more power to you. Good luck. I know they're not the same 49ers that we've come accustomed to, but I don't know if I would call that letting up quite yet. I think after the 49ers game, it starts to let up. Let's see what it looks like. So you got the 49ers, as I mentioned, coming off their bye week, and they may have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. And if that's the case, that's going to be rough. Then you get the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Saints. So it really eases up. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if you won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you won 6 out of your final 7 or all 7 of them, the only game that you won't be favored in is the Chargers game. That's it. Every other game you will be favored in the remainder of the season. Giants, Panthers, Raiders, Cowboys. You may not be, depending on what happens with the Cowboys season, you may not be favored in that Cowboys game on the road. But again, we'll see. You'll be favored in every other game, though, except for the Chargers game, for sure. You'll be favored in every other game. So if you win 6 out of your final 7, you're 10-7, right? So there's still hope. There's still hope. Steve, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Steve writes, all this Bowles hate and nobody talking about injuries. Both receivers sucks because Baker's playing well. Team roster not as strong as Brady years. All this Bowles hate with all the injuries. We talked about the injuries already, which is why the line was the way it was. But he had a chance to win this game, Steve. And knowing that what you just said is the case, knowing that you're down your top 3 receivers, your secondary, you got mix and match parts back there due to injuries, knowing that you're not 100%, why would you want to play more football? Why would you want to play more football? Make it make sense. Again, they're being pretty harsh on him, Steve. I agree. They're being pretty harsh on Todd Bowles. But what you can't defend is that decision to kick the extra point. You're not the better team. You're on the road. You fought that hard to put yourself in that position. You got to go for the win. You got to go for the win. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, Lou, please with the quickness, walk us up through the bye week. You know, I think we don't lose a game. Let's get it, Lou. Come on. All right, let's see what we got. So I actually need to look at it because I'm so locked in on, on a week-to-week basis. I can't tell you who we play after Dallas. So I know it's Steelers this week, Eagles on a quick turnaround week 11, Dallas week 12, and then I can't tell you what the rest of the schedule looks like. I know the teams we play. I can't tell you when we play them, though. No, we got Atlanta like second to last week of the season. I know we got Dallas week 18. Can't tell you when we play Philadelphia the second time. Can't tell you when we play the Titans. Can't tell you when we play the Saints. None of that stuff. I just know we got them all on the schedule. So this is actually a good exercise for me. So Steelers, this upcoming weekend, week 10. Eagles, week 11, Thursday Night Football. Cowboys, the week after that, week 12. Titans, week 13, and then you hit your bye week after the Titans game. Come off the bye on the road at the Saints, then the Eagles, then the Falcons, and then the Cowboys. I think that Falcons game is going to get flexed to some sort of prime time because it's already a flex game. It's either going to be the 28th or the 29th. They're going to flex it into I think it's going to be on the 28th, a Saturday. I think they're going to flex it into that Saturday window because it's going to be two good teams, right? That's my guess. Is that game's going to get flexed into Saturday. This is a really good schedule for us because let's say, in this little stretch here, these next 3 games, we struggle, which I don't see happening. Then you got 2 games to get you back on track, the Titans and the Saints, that you got to take advantage of, right? And then after that, you finish up Eagles, Falcons, and Cowboys. So we're going to have a chance, right, to do some serious damage. But it again, just take them one at a time. But the key is this next this next stretch of games, these next 3 games, right? You want to win at least 2 out of these 3. And you want the 2 to be in the division, obviously. You're going to drop one, it's the Steelers game. I want to beat everybody. And I think we can beat the Steelers. I'm not afraid of the Steelers. This isn't like the Ravens earlier this season where you're like, oh man, if we beat the Ravens, on the road and yada, 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 this is going to change everything. Nah, Steelers ain't about that life. I respect the Steelers, but they don't command the same amount of respect as Baltimore. So in my mind, I expect to beat them. Steve, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, LT does a great job of responding to each comment. I appreciate that as many of your viewers have interesting opinions. Double up, double up. You know what it is. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, man. I appreciate you, Steve. Thank you for chopping it up with me, man. Thank you for chopping it up with us all. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, if we had Mike and Chris, we win that game. They couldn't stop Cade Otton. I believe so, which is why you can't say injuries don't matter. It is the NFL. It is next man up. But we talking about your 2 top receivers and your rookie in Jalen McMillan. We talking about your top 3 receivers. We ain't talking about, mince meat, right? We ain't talking about your 3rd tight end, Miller, that's injured. We talking about your top 3 receivers. We ain't talking about Sterling Shepard injured. We talking about your top 3 receivers. That makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference. Anyway, I digress. All right, let's get out of here. What a game that was. I enjoyed that game a lot more than I thought I was going to. Didn't see a real great game breaking out after the way this one started. Didn't see a game like this breaking out in the second half, but yet it did. But the Chiefs do what they always do, and that's find a way to win and get it done in overtime. Win the toss, take the ball, march it down the field, get into the end zone on a Kareem Hunt run for a touchdown. And the Chiefs prevail 30-24 in overtime, run their record to a perfect, sparkling 8-0 on the season. Who's next up for the Chiefs anyway? Let's see when the loss is going to come before we get out of here. Let's see. I think Buffalo is the next real opportunity for them to lose. That's in week 11. I don't know who they got in week 10, but I bet you it's somebody that they can handle. But let's just see. So they have the Broncos, which is family business. Anything could happen there. And the Broncos have a stiff defense, so we'll see what happens. Then they have the Bills in week 17, 11, as I mentioned. Then they got the Panthers. That's another win. Then they got the Raiders on Black Friday, they should win that game as well, sweep the Raiders up. Chargers, that's another one they could lose at home. The Chargers don't give a shit about the Chiefs in Arrowhead. They could lose that game. They got the Browns. They're going to win that game. They got the Texans. They could lose that game. They got the Steelers. They could lose that game. And that one's on the road. That's also on Netflix. Son of a bitch. I have Netflix, so it's not an issue. This isn't like ESPN Plus where I'm like, I'm not buying ESPN Plus for this shit. But some of you probably don't. Better find somebody Netflix password. And then they finish up with the Broncos in week number 18. So obviously they're going to lose some games here. I think they're going to lose at least 2 or 3 on the schedule. But they dodged a bullet tonight and remain unbeaten for the Bucs. Can't stress this enough. You get into that situation, you got to put all your cards on the table. You got to go for it, man. That's not a situation where you it's not a situation where you kick the extra point and play for overtime. It's just not. You're not the better team. You were 9-point dogs in this game. Go for the win. But they don't go for the win. They go to overtime. They lose the toss, and they never see the football in overtime. It's Patrick Mahomes. What did you expect? That's why you got to go for the win. Anyway, they're now 4-5 after the loss. And what was once a, promising season is going in the wrong direction. And we kind of predicted this would happen once they lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in that Ravens game. But I don't think many of us saw this type of effort tonight. So who's to say that they don't go home next week against San Francisco and beat a team that hasn't been playing consistent football all season long in the San Francisco 49ers? Who's to say? Right? We'll see. But I want to give one final shout out to BetUS. Head over to betus.com and use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit of up to $2,000 and 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll have the Louie T Network podcast tomorrow. We'll go through the slate of games in week number 9. Talk about the trade deadline. Obviously, that is going to come to a head tomorrow. So by the time we go on the podcast, we will have some closure there. There will be more deals tomorrow. Trust and believe. Some players will be changing teams tomorrow. Will there be any impactful deals? We'll see. But there will be I expect, I will give you one. I expect Zadarius Smith to be traded to the Detroit Lions tomorrow from the Cleveland Browns. What else happens after that? I can't tell you. But that's the one that I'm banking on happening tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Tomorrow's election day. It will be crazy, among other things. Or today is election day if you're on the East Coast. It will be crazy. Saddle up. It's going to be a long day. In any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Take care. God bless. And good night.